Hello, Steve White, Trek89 for Steve Arts 89. Well, I watched the 8th episode of Prodigy, Time Amok. Now, I'd heard some people talking this episode up like it was the best episode and literally the best episode of Star Trek, and I'm like, I'm not going to have any expectations on it because that seems a little bit unrealistic. So, I watched it, and now the episode starts off with Janeway trying to teach the kids teamwork because they were disappointed with how things went before, and they didn't seem to be working together and so forth. They didn't have confidence in themselves as a group or a team. So she set them up with an exercise, a chicken, fox and grain, to try and get them all across a stream. So they're doing this on the holodeck, and I don't think it went so well, but basically there is a tachyon storm, and the gravity from the tachyon storm is going to affect the protostar drive. Now, one of the guys works this out and they try and stop it, but there is a shockwave that comes out of the protostar drive and it disrupts time and everyone is put into a different time where they're moving at different speeds. So, and then the protostar drive blows up. So the ship blows up. Janeway is able to work on all times, and she somehow is able to talk to the kids on the different times and explain to them that they all have to work together to stop the protostar warp drive from blowing up, the drive from blowing up. So they need to build a warp matrix, and they eventually get the pieces together. Zero works out the blueprints. I think Gwen gets it mostly made, and while all this is happening, the ship's vehicle replicator is actually building a dreadnought, and that seems to be how he got on the ship the first time. And Janeway realised that he was the one that destroyed her memory core and everything, and got on and did whatever to the crew. So we get a little bit more information about that scenario, but really still not much. We don't really know what happened to the other crew. Now Gwen does fight him, and she manages to stop him because he finds another part to this this warp matrix that they're trying to build, and he pretty much is going to solve the problem and then steal the ship. But she basically shoots him out an airlock and manages to send another message on to the other characters. And again, Del does more progress, and eventually we get to the point. I'm not sure what order they're in because they're all moving at different speeds. The distance that they were from the shockwave determines how fast they're moving, and the one who's moving the slowest is Rock, but she has no confidence and keeps saying she can't do it. But eventually they all come together with all the parts for her, and she's stuck alone long enough that she manages to study everything and work out everything and build some level of confidence with Janeway's help. And she does actually manage to put together the Matrix and save the ship and save everyone. Now, that's basically it. And it felt very much like Cause and Effect, and it felt very much like Eve of the Daleks, even though the scenario was not exactly the same. Cause and Effect was the same scenario running over again. Eve of the Daleks was a diminishing time loop that they had to fix the problem within each time period, and they had to sort of do things differently to make all that work. It felt very similar to that, even though they were all working in different times. So it wasn't the exact same story, but it pretty much felt like it. So it didn't feel that original, didn't feel that amazing, but it still was good. It was okay. Janeway actually was erased by Dreadnought, but Rock actually managed to find her because he didn't overwrite all of her memory, and they were able to rebuild her program. And that, in part, gave her the confidence to try and work on the Matrix. And with Janeway helping her, she was able to do it. But it did take a long time. She was alone for a long time, so I'm not sure if that's going to affect her. But she seemed happy. Everyone was fine. And the episode pretty much ends there, except there's a weird moment where they show Dreadnought in pieces, like in the ship, and one of his eyes comes on. And I'm like, wasn't he blown right out of the ship into space? So that was a little bit confusing. So I'm not sure where that's going to go in the next episode, but they've only got 2 episodes left for the season, so there's probably not much left. They're going to have to conclude that story unless they're not going to conclude it in the season, and it's going to continue on into the next season. I'm assuming they'll conclude it to a point, and then there'll be like another story arc for the next season, which is the way to do long form storytelling. You just tell a little part of a story along with separate stories, so you get an episode and you advance the other story, not just having a piece of one story spread out over 10 episodes where you never really get the feeling of an episode or any movement or anything, which is how Discovery sort of did its first year. So I'm going to go. Feel free to share, like, comment, subscribe, let me know what you think. I did enjoy it, but I felt like I'd been there before. I felt like I'd done it before. It felt very Groundhog Day. But that's part of the issues with Star Trek. There's a lot of stories that have been done. It's very hard to find a story that hasn't been done before. Even if you do it a different way, you're still telling the same story in a way. So I'm going to go.